And we're live.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Fans of Power podcast, episode 97. And it's me, Tyler Baker, as usual, and the other VIP, JoJo Amato, who's been experiencing some technical difficulties. So hopefully
Yeah, a
he'll
little.
be perfectly fine and right as rain as we head into this episode here, and he's not going to be I don't know, showing wood paneling or not wearing pants or something like that. We don't know what's going to happen on his end here, but
let's hope it pops up okay for whatever reason. I mean, at least I'm still working here off of my tablet or whatever, but it's in a way to where I can't see anything on the screen. And I'm trying to get my computer back up so I can make sure I get to everybody that's in the chat room in case they're going to have questions during the show or comments. So if there is anybody waiting, don't worry, I'll be getting to you in just a bit. It's just I got to let everything fire back up on the laptop here. So hopefully it'll be good, and hopefully at least I'm being seen right now because I have no clue what's going on.
yeah, you're quite visible, the red face and all, and can't quite make out what kind of shirt you're wearing there.
Oh, this is a Mighty Mouse one.
Okay,
It's
it
it's
was the
it's
Gumby shirt you said you were going to wear, so
No, it wasn't. No, I know I mentioned Gumby, but no, I have a Mighty Mouse one, and they made a little, like worn effect, like it looks like it's an older shirt, but it's actually just, I don't know, maybe a year or two. But yeah, so I guess it eventually could have looked like this, but I take good care of my shirts. At least I try to.
I'm
So,
glad. I'm sure the listeners are glad as well.
yeah, yeah. So,
What
like I said, I'll
stains
get to the chat room.
on your shirt?
What's that?
Nothing, just a stupid joke.
Okay, yeah, we had a little delay, but well, before we get to discussing our topics, was there anything you would have mentioned about something we did today, and that kind of
Yeah. Gosh, I wasn't sure when we were going to mention that, but
might as well start off with it?
yeah, might as well start out with this bittersweet news to listeners. Joe, Doug, and myself had the great fortune to sit down and talk to the Princess of Power herself, Melindy Britt. Yes, the voice of She-Ra took some time, and we interviewed her for about 15, 20 minutes today. And for the podcast, it was going to be an extra bonus podcast for everybody to download and possibly upload it to YouTube, just the audio, because it was just an audio interview. And it went very great. She was a sweetheart of a lady, very, very humble. And when we finished up, we found out it didn't record. So we want everyone to know we try to get an extra bonus podcast to everybody out there with we did a good job. But Joe and I are both quite proud. Other than the delays on my end, which might have made it a little unbearable to listen to with the 50-second delay on my end, but we managed to get some good questions, and she seemed to enjoy everything we had to ask. And but it's almost kind of like capturing lightning in a bottle. It was a good interview, and we got some genuine answers from her. So we're going to try and get her back, and hopefully probably in another month or so. But we asked some good questions. We talked about her beginnings of the character and how she kind of brought it to life, and how with the material she was given, and why it appeals to guys as much as girls too, and how it's aged so well and still is touching younger generations and still keeping older generations just as excited about it as when they first saw it as kids.
Yeah, what an amazing woman. I mean, she had, like I said, I mean, she had a blast talking with us. It was
Yeah,
really, I mean, it was just she's so humbled, and like we were saying when we were speaking to her, I mean, it's like she even mentions like she was destined to be She-Ra. I mean,
yeah,
she really,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, because how she was speaking of the morals, just the way she was talking, and some of her experiences with fans, and what they've said to her throughout the years. It's just, God, there could have been a better pick of somebody that was meant to be She-Ra than her, and it is unfortunate that, yeah, that it didn't record. The delay, I know that would have been taken care of fine because I know Doug would have edited
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Doug would have fixed that. It made it a little awkward during the interview because when she would say something, I would get it on my end like 15 seconds later, or I would say something and she would get it 15 seconds later.
It was
So
weird. Yeah.
it made it, like, wait for it. Ah, there it is. And
Right, because I even had to mention at points when we were doing the show. I was like, "Well, there's a slight delay with Tyler." I just wanted to say that so she understood it, and then of course, she would have. I mean, we would have had it fixed, but I just wanted to bring that up. So she wasn't wondering why is it just so quiet? Why isn't there nothing going on? Because there was times where it was just dead silent and there was nothing happening. And yeah, I'm just trying to adjust my hat as I'm talking here because I just seen me in the YouTube thing and I seen it was a little crooked and it still is crooked, but well, what the heck? I can be crooked. That's what I pretty much am half the time. So, well, that was that. It was unfortunate it didn't record, but like I said, hopefully we get her on again sometime and it'll go a little smoother. I mean, we can hope.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have that bonus pod for you in the near future, permitting we get her to come back and swallow the pride and the embarrassment that we had her on there, and we didn't get any of it. So, but nevertheless, that was a great experience. I know everybody that had it been picked up, everybody would have really, I think, enjoyed the brief interview that we had with her, because she gave us some genuine answers. It wasn't like, yeah, it was great. Yeah, I'm really honored. No nonsense like that.
Yeah, she enjoyed it, and we enjoyed having her. It did. I mean, it went well. It just unfortunately didn't record.
Yeah, so if you see any footage of her on YouTube and she's all smiles and very polite, well, that's what we got and then some. So if you want to know what she's like, just look her up on some various convention circuits that she's done on YouTube, and you get an idea of what we got to see today and experience. And so much that I even got a little. I think Joe and I both got a little flushed in our cheeks as
Right.
I had a crush on She-Ra as a child, and because still it's a very hot cartoon character, and
Yeah.
and and I told her that, so I'm getting a little flushed here, I'm talking to the voice of She-Ra here, it's
Hmm.
but
Yeah,
wonderful experience, and hopefully we can recapture that magic and let everyone else in on that as well.
exactly. So, well, like I said, hopefully we'll be able to do it again sometime. We'll see how that works and how it turns out. But well, might as well just I guess start off with Super 7 showing some cool reveals this weekend. First, we'll get to they showed Granada, which she looks pretty much like I envisioned how she would turned out as an action figure. But then they I don't think they showed her with the rock pieces on, but she also comes with the rock pieces like Stone Down Rock on did, so you could turn into her. I guess the boulder effect. I would have loved to seen how that would have looked on her though. I wanted to see how would she have looked with the extra rock pieces in the back, because then you could get I guess imagine what she could have been like as a vintage figure if it would have happened. Because in the cartoon, I mean, yes, we know she went from rock and then into her female look, but I don't think she would have the rock. She didn't have the rocks how they'd be designed like it is for the toy. So I just want to see that version. I want to see it on her. And
It's gonna be pretty bulky based on some of those pieces. She's gonna be have like her outer shell's gonna be quite big, just like Stone Darn Rock on.
Yeah, exactly. I
Kind
think
of
she's gonna.
her be a real slender rock, but nah, she looks like she's gonna be just as big and bulky, at least on the outer shell, as they are.
Yeah, and I believe it was stated somewhere that she would probably come in oversized packaging, obviously, because she's not going to have the luxury of being in a 2-pack like Stone Darn Rock on, which made use and room of that 2-pack to put in the
Mhm.
pieces. She's going to be single carded, so being single carded, yeah, I think it's going to be an oversized one, but well worth it. And she looked fantastic, so it was good seeing Granada. And the other reveal of classic style was Manny Faces, which looked, I guess, basically like you'd expect too.
Yeah,
We didn't see any other faces. We only seen just the human face, but he looks like he popped right out of the cartoon.
yeah. I don't. If for some, which I feel like they'll make it work anyway, but I'm not bothered if there aren't other faces, because it's Manny Faces filmation style. It's, to me, the vintage figure looks spot on filmation. I never felt that we got something that was not because the monster face and the robot face look. It was like they looked exactly alike. So this looks, even more precise with how big the helmet is on Manny Faces and everything.
Right.
He looks fantastic. They did
Right. They
they
didn't
did
show any weapon, but I couldn't remember. Did he ever have his Manny Faces blaster in the cartoon at all? Ever?
he never used a weapon in the two appearances that he had. It was strictly just his skills as the in his human form, robot form, and monster form. That was all it was used. No blaster.
Right, which makes me think,
Maybe
okay,
he'll
if they
come with
did,
some sort of cool filmation artifact or something like that. You
yeah, because I
know.
was wondering, what would you do? Would you either give an artifact? Would you figure, what the heck, let's create a Filmation style gun that he had as a toy? Or the one I'd go for, maybe others wouldn't want it, but I think it'd be so cool. And I posted about the picture. I was like, he needs to have that oversized Orko head. Oh, God, if they could give an oversized Orko head as a bonus to pop on, I myself would love it. Could that be something they do? Not sure. Maybe it'd be something in the future like, heck, you know how they had weapons packs before and head packs? Maybe that Orko head could be something in the future if they don't think they want to do it now. But I think it would just be an excellent nod to the cartoon when, he looked like Beastman. He looked like Skeletor, and then bam, the giant Orko head. I'd love it. I think I'd lose it if that happened.
Yeah, that I certainly probably wouldn't display him as such, but it would be an awesome pack-in to have that because it was such a memorable moment.
Yes.
Of course, I'm always looking for, can we get a Trawlin, somewhere? I mean, I'm not complaining because Dial-A-Mug is on the way. I've gotten Shakoti and Mask, and thank God we got Lizard Man, but
How
I'm
much
still
cool or
very,
how cool would it have been if they had something secret in the works and they were doing some of the widgets and wanted to pack maybe one
now,
other.
there. Okay, yeah, Joe corrected me there, and I should have picked up on that. We should get one widget with Manny faces of the pack. No weapon. Give me Squinch, Can Do, or Laura. I don't care which one. One of the widgets needs to come with man. I mean, we still it still can happen. We don't know, but I feel like that should be the pack in. I think even more so than extra heads because
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, the widgets have yet to be represented, and those were a staple in Filmation. So I feel like people can't sit there and say, "No, you can't do that."
No, it's true. Like I said, I mean, there's so many things that could come with them would be great, but yes, that Squinch, that Laura, I think they would just be awesome to pack, especially if, like, let's say Manny Faces hypothetically had a special oversized packaging too, and then he was posed in the monster form like raw like that. And on the side you had Squinch and Laura or something in there. I just think that would be an excellent display package to have them all in, especially if they posed them like that. It ain't gonna happen, but I still think it'd be cool.
No, I guess I mean unless they decide, when they set those prices that when you pay for the next batch of 4 figures, the Filmation sub is upped a little bit more because of the pack in, or maybe they put a widget with one. I mean, 3 widgets with 3 of the 4 figures. One with Manny Faces, one with Tongue Lasher, one with Merman, and one with the Sorceress. I mean, or 3 of them with 3 of the figures. That's how you do it. There, it's a
Oh,
small
to
pack in.
get them.
That way people would almost feel like they'd have to buy the whole set of all 4 figures to get all 3 widgets.
Yeah, it would be great. Like you said, getting them all in whatever way you can get them. Like you said, depending on however they pack them. But to get them all would be great. And I was going to say hello to in the live chat. We have the Geek Reviews, and he mentioned Driel and Montork. So yeah, I mean, he'd love to see him. We'd love to see him. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
whatever way we could get any more Trolins, bring them on too. Whether they're going to be packed with somebody or just heck, just give us a 2-pack.
Oh,
Just
I would love a pack of little characters, like a box set of 3 Trons and 3 widgets, or 3 widgets and 3 Twiggets. I mean,
sure.
there's so many characters, that still have yet to be represented. But I think the Trollins have got. I mean, we've got to have at least one Uncle Montork or Driel. I can't understand why it's taken so long to get one of them. But I feel like that would be a nice little bonus thing to do, is to offer a small character box set of 3 or 4 of the, or even 3 Trons, including Yuckers and Garp.
Oh
Uncle
yeah, sure.
Pet. I mean, not that I need him, but I'm like, if you want to make it all Tron based, I would be cool with that.
I think he'd be a great figure. I think he'd be a fantastic figure to have him. I mean, he would be obviously bigger, but
Personally, I would say Uncle Montork, Azrog, and Driel, since Azrog is a Tron wizard. I would I'd give my left nut for that.
all right. Hey, I guess give whatever you have to get what you want. So
Well, I'm just saying the Super Seven is saying, look, we can make it happen, but we need left nuts. We not only your cash, we need your left nut. All right, I'll do what I got to do.
that's dedication, Tyler. That is. I'll give it to you. So, well, after that, the other two that got me really excited to see were finally seeing some prototypes of the vintage style Hero and Eldor. I believe
Yes.
me, I yeah, that's what I'm most excited about. I mean, I cannot wait to get those. They look great. There was sure a couple things that, like I said, oh, maybe could be tweaked because remember they're prototypes. And in some of the angles of the pictures and even the videos they showed, it looked like Eldor and Hero were bigger than the He-Man, Skeletor, and the others that were in vintage style there. But like I said, they're prototypes, so I'm sure they'll be scaled down to proper size. And as for Hero, while he looks amazing, just a couple little tweaks. One is, like I said, it's not, of course, their paint job is not going to be that's what it's going to look like for the final figure. But I just wanted to put it out there for them just in case they had like Hero's eyebrows at like kind of like an up angle and a little high, which almost gave him a
I did. You're one of those guys who likes to pick apart ankle articulation, aren't you, Joe?
no. I'm a oh Jesus, I'm losing the mask. No, I'm one of those people
Amazing
that
about reveal his secret identity right here on the podcast.
it almost just happened. No, that like I said, I'll say why I got obsessed on that in a second. But I noticed, like I said, the eyebrows just gave him too much of an evil expression, and the hair looked high. But I think that could have been a weird way the camera. I mean, the pictures I was seeing, maybe, maybe not. But if it was, I did like a little Photoshop job that I showed that lowering that hair design that was way up a little bit could make him look great. And Eldor, he looked, it's again an illusion of maybe the beard or the hood. Something made him look extra Hulk like. But I know the final pieces be great, but I just wanted to bring those up. But I'll tell you why my obsession on Hero. Now, I've said this, I'll say it again. When I'm talking about Hero, I'm not saying I am a bigger Hero fan than anyone else, but I've had a longer obsession than maybe most fans. And why do I say this? Is why I say that. I used to go into the stores, said the story a bunch, where I was always going into Elder Beerman. It was pretty close to where I lived, so I could always ride my bike there. I would go there every week, looking in the days when there was new He-Man figures that were coming. That was pretty much the first place I could look before we eventually went to Kmart, other stores, whatever. But I would always go there, and towards when the line, I guess, was going away, but we didn't know about it. I was going in, and finally, this one lady behind the counter, Elder Beerman, one time she's like, "Looking for the new He-Man figures, huh?" I said, "Yeah," and she said, "Well, I probably shouldn't show you this, but come over here." And so I went over to the counter where she was at, and she pulled out what was the dealer
Me,
cat. What did you say?
just picture like I probably shouldn't be showing this kid. Come over here. I want you to see magic beans I've got.
No, so anyways, she showed me that dealer catalog. Now that's the thing. The dealer catalog, of course, when everybody got online and the internet of the days of internet, then they started seeing stuff, finding out stuff like, hey, there's a hero. Oh, there's an Eldor. There was this. Well, I seen it when I was 11 years old. She showed me this dealer catalog. She opened up. She's like, these are figures that they might be releasing, but they're not sure when they'll come out. And in front, what lay before my eyes was the picture that we all seen of Hero in that catalog. Eldor, Giganosaur, Titus, Megator. I mean, I lost my mind. It's all I talked about. I would talk about this with my family so much they were sick of it. I would tell my friends who collected He-Man, yeah, they might have a hero on Eldor, Giganosaur, Titus, Megator. They're like, what are you? They thought I was insane because I sounded insane. And after seeing that catalog and those pictures, I was going to Elder Beerman. Like I said, it was almost a nonstop, a year straight, until I finally realized nothing new's coming. There's not going to be no new figures. There's not going to be anything else. And I think eventually that's when I seen He-Man, New Adventures. I seen those figures, and I think that's why I had such an anger and disgust towards that line. Is because I was still expecting Hero and Eldor, Giganosaur, Titus, Megator, and I seen that. So again, sure, there's probably Hero fans out there more dedicated that really love that figure even more than me. But as for obsessed, I seen that when I was a kid, which now I can finally, my obsession can finally be quenched. That over 30 years obsession of wanting that figure, Hero and Eldor, I'm finally going to get it. So that's my rambling. Not saying, 'cause I know you love Hero. I know you love Hero, but I've had a lunatic obsession since I was a kid.
Yeah, but see, when you decide you don't think the character King Grayskull is not that bad, your depth
You,
of fandom for the character of Hero is very, very questionable.
you question, yeah, exactly. I'm going to question his fandom if you accept King Grayskull, but no, it's like I said, it's there. Maybe not as great as others.
Like I because I feel like the Joe that I know is the Joe that was around in yesteryear, where Joe's either wearing a Jason mask or a mask of some kind. Nobody knows what this kid's face looks like. He's walking around with his dog Coffee even back then, and they're scuttling down the store on his bike. Coffee's in the basket, and they go into Elder Beerman or whatever it's called,
Yes, Elder Beerman.
and the lady behind the counter is like, I probably shouldn't be showing you this. And then she ends up, showing him, like a dirty magazine or something like that.
These are naked pictures of
But
me.
he's like, what about Hero? Sorry, kid. The line's been discontinued. And then the Lassie theme music from the old black and white show kicks on as Joe turns around and him and Coffee get their heads lowered. And that whistling music just plays as they slowly walk out of the store. They get on the bike and they go down to the local drugstore. And he gets a Coke float, and Coffee's sitting there too. And neither one of them are drinking their Coke floats, and the music's still playing.
Well, you painted that picture perfectly.
Got his hand on his mask. The barkeep comes over. Joe, everything all right here today, son? Like I just found out, I have no hero.
That's it. Well, speaking of Hero and other stuff, we have Doongie Forever. He's in the chat room. And here in my story, he said, yep, it's time to heal because I'm going to get Hero finally. And he said, the hero be in your heart. And he said, under my mask is another mask. Yeah, it's possible. Could be. But thanks for joining us, Doogie, and glad to have you in the chat room.
Absolutely.
So
no,
those like
I hope these do well, but I told Joe earlier today, until we get an official release date for Hero and Eldor, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think anything was released this week by Brian Flynn as to we're aiming for, December of 2017 to take pre-orders, which I know with them it's a different ballgame than it is with Mattel. But even though we got Hero and Classic, so I can't complain too much about not getting Hero. But to get the version we were destined to get, is something that I hold true and dear, and I hope to God we get the original card backs. And
yes, the Powers of Grayskull style card.
What's that?
Yeah, the Powers of Grayskull style card backs they already exist. And I'm sure Emiliano there, he'll probably help make that happen because I'm sure that I think he has scans of that from the Power and Honor. So I think he'll one way or another make sure that happens. I would hope.
Hopefully more of the prototype characters that were due to come out, like the White Ninja. I think his name is called Samurai. That was featured in that 3-pack with Lord Grass and Plasmar and.
That was his actual name back then. They were going to use was Samurai.
Because it's not Plasmar, it's not Lord Grasp, and it's not Terror. It was I think Snaptrap. Samurai, I think, which doesn't make much sense, but I'm not going to argue because if that's what they were going to call the character, that's what I'm going to go with. And I think Cyborg, or I think was I forgot what it is, but they did have official names, and the name of the White Ninja, I believe, was supposed to be Samurai.
I wonder how they spelled that. If there was a special way they spelled Samurai, if it was in the clever little hyphenated master's way of doing so.
Yeah, something like that. But I hope we get more of what we were supposed to get in the Powers of Grayskull line, and they need to let Axel come up with some more ideas for pre-Eternity characters or something like that, since he's doing all that box art and card art stuff. So, but just to get Hero and Eldor in vintage form, I think even if that's all we got, I would be perfectly content because that's what we're supposed to get. And be able to put them on the shelf with He-Man and the rest of the crew, I think is something that would make everybody's shelves complete.
Yes, and that, like I said, yes, that's what I've always wanted. We don't know when they're coming. I even believe that Brian Flynn said at one time, I think I've seen it with the interview. I think Renee Chavez did an interview with him on Saturday, and he asked when would the 5.5-inch line figures come out, and I think he said Skeletor, He-Man, Hordak, and She-Ra would be separate in their line from Hero and Eldor. And he said originally He-Man, Skeletor, Hordak, and She-Ra were possibly going to come out this December, but things changed with the time frame. He said from Mattel there was a reason Mattel wanted to hold off on that, so it would probably then be next year. But I wondered what that could be that would be holding it up from Mattel of what makes wanted them to wait and not release them this December.
Well, one would assume Mattel's got some up the sleeve, at least as a means of marketing. Whether they're actually doing something new, I find that I mean anything's possible, but could be a whole marketing thing. I have no idea what they got up, but if Mattel's got something to do with it, you'd like to think that there's a little bit more of a grander picture going on
Yeah,
behind the scenes that we are not going to be told anything about until. There's always a big convention in October. Is it Kamikaze, like Stan Lee's Kamikaze convention?
I can't remember the October one.
There's always because we've gotten reveals in October before, I believe, but I always feel like there's some sort of big convention in New York or Los Angeles or something like that in October.
Because we have a toy. I can't remember when Toy Fair comes. I know there's a Toy Fair, and then there's a New York Comic Con, which I think is in February. Maybe I could absolutely be wrong.
But it's hard to say. Everything's subject to change when we're dealing with this kind of stuff. I mean, anything. It could be another year for all we know. So but it's nice to think about that if Mattel's getting back in the game with this property, then maybe they've got something cooking behind the scenes, and hopefully it'll be something that benefits He-Man and She-Ra, and not something that makes it look like a joke.
Yeah, I would hope something great. I mean, you always like to think, is there the possibility of a cartoon, something else? But you don't even want to start running with that idea. That's
No,
way
just it's pointless, I think, to be thinking about that at this point, because it just and unless there's somebody Mattel has decided, what, let's celebrate this and try this toy line with the masses again. It did so well for us in the '80s, and all these other lines are still doing well for Hasbro and Playmates. Why the hell can't we make He-Man work, and She-Ra for us? So.
Right. So whatever they have planned, like I said, hey, I'll sit back and wait. I'm patient, and I'm sure when they come out, they'll be fine. They'll all look perfect. All of the figures from the 4 that they showed for the 5.5 inch to Hero and Eldor, I'm sure they'll look, they'll look great beyond whatever else they have planned in the future. Really quick, the Slacker guy, he's in the live chat room, and thanks for joining us. He was thinking maybe New York Comic Con. He wasn't quite sure what October was either, but
it's a relatively decent sized convention in October. It's at the beginning of October, like October 10th or something like that, But we've gotten some He-Man related news at that convention before in the past, so maybe something next month possibly. That's just being optimistic. Not to say that we're going to get anything, but
right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen either way. But I think they put on a great show. Super 7 showed some figures that everybody's been clamoring for. They satisfied, again, the classic styles figures to the vintage. At least they're still pumping out the show and stuff, and you can only wonder what will they have next. So,
and we are due next month to get the new classic figures. Am I right? Like the Formation sub and the collector's line we're due to get those next month. I mean, have you heard any kind of changes in the time frame? Because
I haven't, but I always hate speaking of it because it seems like any time it's spoken out loud, another delay might happen, and I don't even want to curse any of
the Ultimates being delayed as much as they were. There was no reason to think that we were going to get the 2 subs that people bought back in May and June at that exact date. I just felt like, well, if the Ultimates is getting delayed and it's just figures that have been done before, it may be Christmas before we actually receive the new stuff. So I'd like to think that we're finally going to get Lodar and Quake and Hawk and Fangor next month, and the rest of the Formation crew, like Triclops and Hordak, next month. But I won't hold my breath.
Yeah, like I said, I just go with the flow. Let's see what happens. Otherwise, you dwell on it.
Lose sleep over it and go on some sort of tirade on social media and bitch and complain and, man, this is fire bang, this and blah, blah, blah. And, none of that nonsense. Just wait. We got them. They're coming.
Yeah, they're coming.
We waited this long for Hero and Eldor to come in vintage form. I think we can wait a few extra months for the classic line. So.
That's right. I've waited over 30 years. My obsession's been insanity. So, I mean, that's patience. That's dedication. Right.
I've been just as insane to get that figure ever since I saw it in the Powers of Grayskull, The Legend Begins mini comic, man. So don't be painting yourself.
You didn't even know you didn't know who he was going to be.
Around at Elder Beard Bands. You
But
know,
you didn't see the figure. I seen the figure. You didn't even.
I
They didn't mention
saw
his
a
name here.
silhouette of him making everything disappear. Like, who is this guy? You know, all the answers we reveals.
See,
And part two of the Powers of Grayskull, we
but you
never
just
get.
said it. You just said it right there. You said, "Who is this guy?" You didn't know or didn't know. I knew it was Hero. I knew
You
it was Hero.
didn't
And I,
know that that was the character in that mini comic, though. You
yes,
did
I
not,
did. I
because
knew
there's
it was
no
Hero.
information about it. There's
I
nothing
knew
in
it.
that first issue,
But
and
I
there's
knew it.
nothing in that
I
catalog
knew
that
it.
says a hero is the guy cloaked in the darkness.
I
No,
just
no,
knew it
no,
was gonna
no.
be.
Don't pretend that you didn't know, because you didn't know. Not even the lady at Beardman Elders knew exactly what was the
Well, then,
connection.
hey,
Like,
that's a
hey,
good idea. Then
I'm
what you
not
just said
supposed
there.
to tell you that.
That's a
Come to
good
the
one.
back room,
You
you
had the
idiot.
obsess on.
I'll let
No,
you
you had the
know
obsess
who it
on
really is in
Hero.
the
It's the
comic that you
comic.
bought 2 months
But I
ago.
had it for him as the store. So you had Heroes Thought without a name from the mini comic, but I knew of a hero. So in fact, I have been obsessing more because I've seen a hero figure before you did, and a lot of people. So as for hero, I've obsessed longer. You've just obsessed over a silhouette of a character you didn't even know who the hell it was in Power Grayskull. So I win. I win.
You believe in the Easter Bunny too, kid?
Yes, I do. Now let's go watch Sidekicks. All right, now that we're done with that, with the back and forth rant,
Uh,
um, let's go ahead. Why don't you start off with well, since see we were gonna transition since we talked, to Shira herself earlier today. We're figuring, hey, we talk about kind of what made Shira, so loved throughout the years. What made it to where guys could get into Shira along with girls, and we were gonna discuss, like I said, transition from one to the other. So even though we don't have her obviously the audio recorded, we still discuss it. And as for me with Shira, the cartoon, I mean, it was a no-brainer. Right when we seen it, just it's like, oh man, that's He-Man's sister. And you felt like you were just basically watching a cartoon you could still relate to. I mean, it was still full of action, had the hero that's super strong, had the cool looking enemies. It's like there's nothing you could dislike. I mean, especially when you could watch He-Man and She-Ra in the same hour back to back on a lot of stations, but you didn't feel like you were watching, because you know how it is as guys, you might watch a cartoon like, I'm not gonna be watching Strawberry Shortcake. I'm not gonna watch anything that's, girly, girly. Well, Shira didn't feel like a girly, girly cartoon. It felt like she could be loved from guys and obviously from girls, but everybody could equally love her. She just had a great way of connecting with everybody, cartoon wise.
I think for me, because I was really young when I found out about Shiro, and I think it was the cartoon, then seeing the toys, was the Horde was in it, and I had Hordak, I had Leech and Montana and Grizzlord at a real early age, and to see them in the cartoon running around, that was I think the biggest grabber for me that caught my attention was seeing the Horde in this series, seeing these He-Man villains running around in this other cartoon, and didn't really kind of make the connection that He-Man and She were sisters. I mean, or excuse me, brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it felt like it took me a little bit longer as a child to put that together, like before age 5 or 6. Definitely age 5, I think. Because I just thought I wanted He-Man to get with She-Ra, because I didn't catch the brother sister connection there, because I thought she was this really hot blonde chick. He-Man is to get with her. You know,
Wow.
you're like, go to hell, Tila. I don't want you. I don't want you. I don't want He-Man shacking up with you. This little 4-year-old me thinking this, but
That's a
I
weird, yeah.
did what?
That's weird. I just like you said, I didn't realize you were just only 4 years old. So you
I, I was real young. It was before my brother was born, so I was either at a late 3 years old or early 4 years old. When I mean, because all this seemed to be happening within the same year. My addiction to Masters of the Universe. So, and I do remember seeing She-Ra on TV at that time. Not. I mean, it was very little. I mean, I can remember seeing it after in the afternoon, probably when I got home from daycare or something like that. But that's about as far as I can remember, because the rest of it was through VHS tapes from Beyond Video, and I just fell for the cartoon. I thought She-Ra was a knockout. I thought she was real pretty to look at. Same thing with Adora. I liked Swiftwind. I thought Bo was a cool character. And to see all these hordemen that I had the figures of in the cartoon, it was so exciting to see Leech and Montana and Grizzlord, and to see She-Ra fighting him. And And there were the cartoon, like He-Man itself, regardless of what some casual fans may sit there and dump on, is that the She-Ra cartoon is aged extremely well. There's tons of great examples to show newcomers or casual fans who don't really know much, but will present themselves as if like they know a great deal. It's like no, 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 no. If you're going to sit there and say that you think that all these cartoons from the age are so corny and campy, I liked him as a kid though, and I'm like, no, 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 no. There's a lot of these episodes that still really hold up, and I mean, a lot of there's a lot of favorites. I mean, that I liked as a kid, like Huntara was. I mean, I treasure that particular episode, and come to find out, a lot of people did as well. It was a heavily remembered episode, and it's a great action oriented episode with He-Man, She-Ra taking on the bounty hunter, the famous bounty hunter, and that's just one of many episodes. And I named this one not because Joe hates it so much, but
Here we
because,
go.
huh?
Laughing. What are you going to talk about? The one with Sorrowful?
Yeah, the Laughing Dragon.
Yeah, I had a
Like,
feeling.
but this was something we talked to Melindy today. Was her approach with Adora that I think she wanted Adora to be like Juliet from Romeo and Juliet, a very soft spoken, sweet character, and Adora is that, and in that episode, because that's one I used to watch a lot. Her whole approach to Sorrowful the Dragon was very tenderhearted, and the way she's so nice to this giant cowardly dragon with his big dangly tongue hanging out and everything, and she just was a character that you feel like you just would want to go over and hug as a child, like that, the real pretty lady, but she's real nice too, and like I want to cling to her. She's pretty. You get all like, oh no, but it was, man. I'm getting lost in my thoughts here. It's such a wonderful cartoon. It's and I think because there wasn't light and fluffiness that you'd expect in a girl's cartoon in this, and I guess, and I remember, I think it was in one of the first documentary on the She-Ra DVD release for Volume 1, that when they were looking, doing some fact checking, they found out that a lot of girls were watching the He-Man cartoon. So I guess that's why they felt like, well, we can make a cartoon aimed at girls, but we can bring the boys over because the girls are still watching the He-Man show as well. So we had to take into consideration that guys like Larry DiTilio, who wrote Secret of the Sword, and Lou Scheimer, and Tom Tataranowitz, and a lot of the various people who worked on She-Ra, they knew what they were doing. So it's kind of no surprise why boys still liked it, because they made sure it kind of had a neutral feel to it. That even though there's a lot of bright pinks and yellows and some light blues and things like that, no, there was
It just
still
worked
some.
well. It worked perfect. I mean,
Yeah,
like you
it worked
said,
well. They made that transition that even though the hero of the show was a female, she's not at the end of the day combing her hair and baking cookies and things like that. No, she's out there kicking ass and
yeah, she was like a powerful role model to girls, but also guys could just relate because it felt like it was still, you felt like you were watching a He-Man cartoon, but in a whole different world. But it's She-Ra, and then a whole new cast of evil characters, and a new group of friends for She-Ra. I mean, it just worked. It worked so great. See, the cartoon on the aspect of, like you said, it seemed like it could reach all guys and girls. See, that's what's different when you looked at the figures, though. See, I loved having my, like I said, my Tila figure. Love my Tila figure. I loved Eva Lynn. I loved the Sorceress. But when it came to the She-Ra figures, they were more doll-like. Those were, I mean, they were obviously geared towards girls. I mean, they had hair that you could comb. So as a guy, you felt like, I can't collect this, because you felt like you were playing with Barbies because you seen your sister playing with Barbies. But I mean, but heck, if anybody wanted to collect them, that's great. But I couldn't myself. I was like, I felt like it was like a doll. And I know that, because I even have a shirt that says, it's not a doll, it's an action figure. Guys, we always want to say, no, I'm playing with a guy toy, because we even got this guy, sometimes you had a He-Man figure, and somebody might say, you playing with dolls? Like, saying a doll. Dolls you always assumed had hair. So the
anybody
toys,
that looks at an action figure that looks like He-Man, a GI Joe, a Transformer, or a Thundercat, and they have the balls to say that it's a doll. rest assured, I mean, they need to have the living hell slapped out of them multiple times because does this look like a doll to you? What
Exactly.
doll has muscles on top of muscles, carries a sword, a battle axe, and a shield? You know, just someone who likes to insult children that says that kind of nonsense. But the thing that really kept me because I didn't remember as until much later that the She-Ra toys had the fluffy hair that you could comb. The biggest off putter for me was that the packaging was bright pink. You know, so to see it in Toys R Us, this big, you know, eye level display of She-Ra toys at the front of Toys R Us, and just kind of walking to it mesmerized and thinking, I can't be seen doing this, man. I mean, it's She-Ra, and there's
No,
I
it's
want.
just that's just how it is. Like you said, because I mean it's pink. There was Barbie with pink, and it's that's how when you're looking at figures, obviously it looked like it's for girls. Just like there's toys that look like they're for guys. And I even had some girls that I knew growing up that were tomboys. That some of them they liked maybe some of the boy figures, but then they weren't really allowed to get the figures that looked too manly because they were supposed to be getting girl stuff. It's just culture. It's just how it was when you were a kid. The girls would harass the girls if they had toys. And then if a boy wanted to get a figure that could have been Shira, they could have got harassed too. It's unfortunate, but that's how just it is, when you're growing up. It's just that's how you look at things. As you get older, you learn to think, you know what, these are still cool to collect. It's like, sure, now I would like to have all the Shira figures, which I have. I don't have them
Yeah,
all, but I have a
yeah.
good amount.
As an adult, if I've seen I've picked them up like Frosting, Casaspella. I mean, I'd seen them at flea markets. I'm like, no, how much you want for Frost? I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the only time I did see him, and maybe I did. So I think I've told Joe this behind the scenes, but I went over to one of my mom's best friend's house, and her two daughters were really into She-Ra, and they had I think they had the Crystal Castle and a variety of She-Ra figures. And it was so exciting to see all these She-Ra characters right here, and it didn't the hair. It was just more about there's Frosta, that's Castaspella, and they had Moss Man. That was the one He-Man figure they had. They had Moss Man. That was the first time I ever saw Moss Man. Was at their house in a pile of She-Ra figures, and I brought over my Evil Lyn figure to play with them.
Oh, you did. That's really cool.
Yeah, so that was the only time I saw the She-Ra figures in person, and it was very exciting that day to see all that stuff. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, well, that's a great memory. I mean, I remember how I seen the Shira figures that I stole. Remember the one to trade for Hordak, but either way, yeah, I remembered what they looked like. But see,
Did you tell people that the girl that you stole the Hordak or the She-Ra figure, the girl that you stole the toys from, that was the girl you ended up dating eventually, right?
yes, I'm a thief. I'm sorry, but
And
I
she
made
dumped
things.
when she found out what he did to her all those years ago.
I made things
And then
right.
Joe, the Lassie music came back on, and there goes Joe and Coffee down the road, and there's
There's
one
this
black cloud that's just hovering over the two of them as they walk down the
rain,
sidewalk. You know.
exactly raining just on us. But no,
Yeah.
it's just. I mean, when we're talking about the figures, it's of course, what do you do? Like, when I was a kid and I'd have He-Man, you do what the kids did in the cartoon, basically. Not that they had to tell us how to do it, but how, like, all right, like, He-Man, now I'm going to get you, and then you're like, all right, Skeletor. Like, you're using your guy voices back and forth. And when girls had the She-Ra figures, they're using the light girly voices. So that's why I think, yes, guys usually don't play with them. I couldn't have pictured having Frosta and Cast a Spell and She-Ra, and I'm using girl. It's like
I didn't
it's
do a
just
whole lot of talking out. I did a lot of my kind of like it mentally. I would do the sound effects from punches and stuff like that. But
I would talk out loud like those dorks in the commercials, those kids that you'd see, any of them when they were
you
talking.
can make an evil slave of He-Man. And those kids who do those voices, man. I mean, it's like the director just said, do what you would normally do. And those kids have got intensity in their eyes when they're sitting there. Moss Man is green, so I can't be seen. Ha 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 ha. I mean, these kids are going for the Oscar when they're trying to sell you these toys of how cool they are.
Go back and watch them. Anybody that's in the chat
Yeah,
room or listening to us
like a
anytime.
21-minute video of every He-Man commercial from '83 to '87. It's missing a few. It doesn't have the Clamp Champ commercial, and it doesn't have the Squeeze Bustle Hornet Mosquito commercial in that lot. But if you go on YouTube, there's about a 21-minute video of just nothing but He-Man commercials. And
I always liked with the kids when they were like doing the little acting of stuff. Like I couldn't remember if it was the one with the Dragon Blaster, Skeletor, or Cobra Khan, and when the one kid got frozen, you seen him. I mean,
yeah,
when the
oh yeah,
character
I
he
always
did
front
the
of yeah.
he
I mean,
did it.
the kids are selling it, man. I mean,
Yeah, they
they're
were.
You know, I like the stinker one. Smell your own stinker. When they take like a 2 liter bottle and drop it on his head, you know.
It works. I mean, it worked. But
Those are we did a commercial talk like last December, but I feel like it was so short. I would love for us at some point to go back and revisit some very specific toy commercials of the He-Man toy line, because there were some good ones, and some that just, you know, even today you can make you like all the dads in those commercials. And it's like, do you have to make the dads just dumb as rocks? You know,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
So,
I mean, because
so you
my
got to
dad
check them out. Yeah.
with me, but he didn't act like, oh no, we have the power. Like, no, my dad didn't do that. He liked to
Right.
joke and carry on. He didn't act like a complete dork.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, some could be questionable. They're all great, but that's just how it was supposed to be. But well, I was gonna say real quick, Doogie Forever in the live chat, he said, "Would you say the She-Ra cartoon aged better than He-Man's?" Well, honestly, like I said, I think they both age together
Yeah.
pretty much the same way. I mean, that's just. I mean, if you like
Well,
He-Man, you like.
I mean, they had both of them had a lot of the same writers. So to me, I can't really say one age. I mean, of the two, I'm always going to pick He-Man, because He-Man is my that's the greatest passion. But She-Ra goes hand in hand. But no, I don't think because they both suffered from, you know, some of the similar problems of getting a little too hokey towards the latter part of the run. But no, I still think, I mean, if She-Ra fans say She-Ra's better, I understand that. I'm not going to argue it, because that's more passion. They're more passionate about that. Me, He-Man's always going to be my favorite, but I can't say that they're better because they had a lot of
Yeah,
the same parts, especially.
I don't put one better than the other. I mean, like you said, if somebody loves He-Man, that's great. Loves She-Ra, that's great. But they age pretty much the same way, to where there was both episodes in both series that were really great. They had very powerful moments, and both series had
And
some
I will
cornball ones.
kind of feel like when I saw The Secret of the Sword for the first time on VHS in 11th grade, I was already accustomed to a lot of the, you know, various some of the various episodes, and I when I saw Secret of the Sword, a lot of the voices seemed different. Like Hordak's voice did not seem the way that I knew it, you know, and Mantenna's was pretty much the same. Scorpius kind of flip flopped a little bit. Bose was not as um, suave and kind of a bumbling, you know, charmer, so to speak. I kind of felt like in Secret of the Sword, other than well, a lot of the voices, I kind of feel like were a little off. Like they had not quite even there was uh, maybe it's just me kind of overanalyzing or nitpicking, but I even felt like a lot of the He-Man characters did not feel like as polished as they should have been, as we had seen them in the He-Man series. So, but to go and watch the She-Ra characters, I feel like they gradually got to a much more polished point, because I almost feel like, of course, Melindy, she hit Adora and She-Ra right off. Like you didn't feel like that character gradually changed over like with the voice, but like Hordak, George's voice of Hordak was I mean, what I'm saying, go watch Secret of the Sword where you meet Hordak, and then go watch Talent for Trouble or Gateway to Trouble or you know.
Yeah, because what I noticed, and it seemed like they laid off on as much of it. They obviously, it seemed like for the She-Ra cartoon, they definitely made use of the gimmicky voices, meaning Hordak did a lot of snorting.
He didn't
Mekaneck
do
did
it
a
as
lot.
much in Secret of the
We'll,
Sword.
we'll, we'll see. Hold on, that's what I'm just gonna get to. Hordak just seemed like he would do a lot of snorting at points. Shadow Weaver would do that, sound effect.
Yeah,
Then you had Mekaneck. I'm sorry, God, Mekaneck. I'm sorry, Mantenna doing the sound. Leech did the slurp sound. It's
love
like
the
every
slur.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it seemed like even before and after they said every sentence, they had tons of sound effects. Then later on, it didn't seem like as much. But I mean, hey, that's how you're establishing a character with voices, what they do. And real quick, I was going to say hello to Tom Charlton. He's in the chat room, and he said he had Tilo and braved entering the pink aisle in order to get a She-Ra. So you're a good man. You got your She-Ra. That's great. It's something I couldn't have, I just didn't do when I was a kid. But hey, at least he got his.
Yeah, I didn't have the courage because I was with my parents when I saw those She-Ra toys, and I that was the day that I picked up Jackalman instead of Beastman. But I didn't have the courage to ask them. You know, I really like to have a She-Ra figure. I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. Like pink meant girls, and like I got to get the hell out of here. So
Yeah, it's just what a weird distinction, though. I mean, the cartoon, anybody could feel comfortable with the cartoon. As for the toys, it felt different, but as adults, you learn to appreciate everything. So, but yeah, as for the cartoons, yeah, I think they both aged perfectly the same, and I wouldn't say one aged better than the other. I
it really
think
just depends on which character you cling to a little bit more. I mean, me, it's always going to be He-Man.
yeah,
But She-Ra, no, I mean they were given a lot of great writers and a lot of good stories, a lot of great characters, and I mean you look at the classic shelf that we've been collecting for the last what about decade, about almost
been quite a long time.
yeah, I mean of all these just one shot characters that showed up in Filmation, both He-Man and She-Ra, from General Sunder to Mask and Chakotay to Voltac. I mean it's. I mean, everybody. I felt like both series got a fair shake. A lot of great episodes, great characters, and a lot to talk about. I mean, we're still doing it here.
Yeah,
You know,
like I said, I mean, it's
all the
endless, which can lead to more, like I said, more discussion on that at another time. But let's kind of, like I said, a little perspective on thoughts on Shira. But now, speaking of all the cartoons, let's go forward many, many years and let's do an MYP episode. How about we do a commentary? You tell the fans how to do the commentary with us, where
yeah.
to tune in to do. And yeah, go ahead.
We had discussed about doing this particular episode a while back, and I can't remember why we didn't do it. I know when Joe suggested, I just kind of groaned. But we have intention to do every episode, no matter how silly or whatever, or whether Joe's like this is stupid or I'm like this sucks. We are going to do every episode, and of course, if we get a request, I'd be inclined to do that as well. But today we'll be going to 2002 and be watching Mekaneck's Lament, which I groaned at the idea of doing this, and we'll get into that why. Not for what you're thinking.
Okay, and they can catch it, like you said, on YouTube.
Yeah, the episode is on YouTube. I mean, it should. All you got to do is just type it in Mekaneck's Lament on YouTube. It pops up immediately. You should see it. It should be like the first option at the top of the screen.
Yep,
So
and we all started to rate where he says, "I am Adam."
yeah, that one. And I'm going to count down from 3, 2, 1, and then play. And then, of course, that's when Adam pops up on the screen. So if you want to, you can pause this right now, get it set up, or on your laptop or desktop, whatever it is you're using. Find it and count down from 3, 2, 1, play. There was Adam's blonde hair blowing in the wind here.
I remember the first time seeing the intro and when it got, bam, interrupted. I was like, what? And
I remember
actually
so pissed off about this. I'm like, dude, no, they're not shitting all. Sorry, they're not cracking all over Filmation. It's just a fun little homage. And people were like, how dare they? And I'm like,
I remember though the first time I seen it, I was shocked. I was like, wait, what just happened? And I thought, okay, maybe it's just for the first episode. Then it continued. I was like, well, I get it. I get the little gimmick.
Me personally, I would have loved to have seen the full, nod to Filmation. But I'm like, oh well.
We didn't see that until we got the tape of this, though, right? And then you got to see
I
the
think
whole.
I think it was one of the VHS tapes of like the World of He-Man or Courage of Adam on VHS. They only released a few of them.
Yeah, and it was cool to finally see. And all right, well, here we go. Now we, I always liked how this just started right off in battle. It's like, wait, what's going on? Usually in a lot of episodes, but of course we know how this had, like continuity. But still, you're wondering, why are they all fighting? Everybody's fighting. But it was cool to see it all going right at it, and they're all just right in the heat of battle already.
Which is kind of what you'd expect. It's like what you see in so many pieces of art where like they're just duking it out, like what you'd expect them to do. And to start out this way, it's a good way to start it out. And
you see Mekaneck already, bam, got damage right in his neck, got a blast there. And this, you remember the first time I seen that, I was like, Man-Arms looked up and then he's like, retreat. I was like, retreat? Wait, what? I was just shocked seeing, the heroes running from battle. I didn't understand until you find out, there's a reason of why he's doing this so-called retreat.
I haven't watched this episode almost probably as far back as when it aired for the first time, because I was so angry at how Mekaneck was portrayed in this episode. I can't say I didn't watch it again because when it came out and it was shown or revealed before the episode aired that Count Marzo was going to show up. I thought, ooh, and they hadn't shown what he looked like at all. I'm like, okay, this has got to be good. And that was the kind of 50-50 split on this episode. But I just felt like I've always hated people dumping on Mekaneck, and I felt like this episode is to blame for that. For people who got back came back to the fold when this cartoon came out, don't remember much about the original toy line. This is what they think of when they think of Mekaneck, and it carried on into that god awful DC comic book.
Yeah, because I never got that vibe, as a kid from the
No, I
cartoon
didn't
and
either.
toy. Never.
Held such high regard,
And once this happened, it seemed like everybody's whole opinion on Mekaneck completely changed. And cartoon coming up, it's like they're almost pretty much word for word speaking what Mekaneck was saying, as you'll see in a scene later. It's like they're saying what he said of why he's worthless. I was like, oh God, why did MYP?
and I blame I can't remember. I think Dean Stefan may have wrote this, and I just felt like I know it's that kind of character's journey to realize that he's not as. I mean, I get it, but I felt like Mekaneck. I mean, all these characters, like it's a hard sell to make it look like any of these guys are a weak link.
Yeah, because see,
they did
right
it with
here,
Snoutspout, Eye of the Storm, and I hated that portrayal in that mini comic of Snoutspout, and to have Mekaneck
sitting here talking himself down, talking about I can't fly, I can't ram like Ram Man, and like I'm worthless, or it's like, why would you say that about yourself? But then everybody started saying what he said. It annoyed me because like I never thought of him as being worthless when I was a kid, and I still don't. But it seemed like everybody.
I get I get very, very angry when I see people doing that, and it really just comes off as like, okay, you're extremely uneducated, and you clearly are listening to what people are telling you, as opposed
and
to.
it was good that. Right, and at least Adam got there and talked Mekaneck up of like at least what he did do, that makes him a worthy hero. But of course now you see him leaving where Man at Arms is, and now he's looking depressed again.
And Chris Paulson's favorite character, Man at Arms, here shows what a dick he can be here.
He sure is. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you say I got this gun that does that?
There is nothing likable, as I said before, about this portrayal of Man at Arms. I mean, I can appreciate and enjoy the hard ass archetype in a lot of stories, but this is not one of them.
What a way to rub salt in the wound, though, to show this gun. This thing can see through things, and it can do recount. It's like, oh great, you just said that to the guy who's feeling worthless about what he does.
Until I was fixing his neck, I don't know what's his problem. And he asked like, "God, you're a dick, Duncan."
No, he really showed it there. I was like, what a horrible thing to do. So poor little Mekaneck now is just stuck skipping rocks at the water. Of course, feeling how.
But look at the character. I mean, it's like how do you feel sorry for this guy? The first episode you see him, he's going one-on-one with Triclops, even though in that infamous ridiculous weapon spinning segment. But still, it's not like this guy is like getting smacked around all the time. But
no.
Here we are with Marzo's first appearance in this new series, and this was, I will give the writer credit for this one, for this updated Count Marzo, because I hated Marzo in Filmation, still don't like him, and
of course we'll find out about this being Marzo, but as we'll see later, he's probably one of the best upgrades of any of the Filmation characters. As I told you before,
the best upgrade of the series. I mean, there's a lot of characters that solid upgrades, but if someone were to pick this one, I'm like, I completely understand why, because it was a damn good upgrade.
Yeah, I had no issue with this upgrade. I told you, Evil Seed was one I thought, I still enjoyed Filmation more.
But this Can't wait for Orko's Garden.
Yeah, because I at least enjoyed, like I said, Count Marzo. But here we go. This is what I thought. It's like this guy is promising Mekaneck, like, I can grant your wish. Why don't you have them both? Why don't you fly and you can be strong and do what you... I was like, but why was Mekaneck... I mean, he was so quick to believe this guy that he could grant his wish, but... Oh, well, I mean, what the heck?
We don't have the story unless the protagonist buys this story. So,
right.
I mean, you have to just play off the idea that Mekaneck's character is very vulnerable and open to possibilities that, they are living in a land of sword and sorcery and magic. So you kind of feel like, well, anything could be possible. But Um, yeah, I mean, logically, you kind of would feel that way, but it'd be the same thing if it was Ram Man or Manny Faces. I mean, Manny Faces goes to the same thing in Monster Within, where he questions, I'm too dangerous. I can't do this anymore. I'm like, all right,
Did I
you know.
mention we need to have that little man Count Marzo figure? That would be an
We
awesome little
do need a
figure.
little version of Marzo. That would be. I'd imagine if they do like another 2000X character that we have yet to receive, which I don't know. I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head that I would really
I don't
want.
know, maybe Captain Miro. I don't know.
I know people want Miro. That's not somebody I'm like I gotta have a Captain Miro.
I
But
still think it'd be cool to have. I mean, heck, if you want to do it, why not have it? Because this is the episode where you're going to at least see them, where you can see
yeah,
them.
I mean, if we got it, I mean, it's better than Decker, but
And
it's
there
not
he is, just
there.
tacking the Hall of
All
Wisdom.
this badass glory here with that Russian accent. It's it
And there
just
you go. There's Miro right there. I think he would be an awesome figure, honestly. Get
well, yeah.
Miro, give him.
There's no denying it. I think even some of these particular Royal Guards would be kind of a cool army builder as well.
They would be great army builders. As I said,
Yeah.
there's still so
You
many
know what?
things from
It
just this
marks those
episode
two
alone.
death dogs.
I was just, damn it, you had to still. I was waiting for this to come because they haven't showed them yet, but I was going to bring them up.
Yet, but man, I mean, they look so much like the dogs in Ghostbusters. Like, boy, that would be awesome to have two of those to
Well,
put back.
there went my thing I was going to say. I was going to say it later, but well, I was going to mention about those death dogs, hellhound looking things, spikes around. I was thinking, my God, those could be big beasts the same size as Battle Cat and the Griffin that we already have. I mean, it's a no brainer, and those would be really wicked. But well, that's again, this episode has so many things that could have been turned into figures. But well, you see, it took basically the entire army and everything to stop him because now you find out that well, his power is supposed to come from
Amulet
this.
base. It
Yeah.
all comes from that one amulet, but it's kind of makes the character a very unique villain. He's extremely powerful, but he's also got his power is equaled by his Achilles heel, and it's like you take that thing away. I mean, obviously, this is what the elders did to him, and I guess you could kind of say, because he's captured and taken away at the end of this episode, he's not back in his old form again. You kind of almost are led to, I think, looking back at it as if like if he doesn't have the amulet, he's back to his little shrunken self again. But in this, I mean, it's just like once he uses it, he's back to his normal, muscular self. But
I always wondered in a lot of cartoons and just movies in general. I always thought,
I mean, yeah, if you start digging apart, you're taking all the fun out of it. So it's pointless to go into it.
yeah, because like even like what just happened there, we could always honestly say, why didn't you just destroy the amulet instead of having it being hidden somewhere? Just destroy it.
Yeah,
You don't have to worry about nothing. But again, that's just taking the fun out of anything.
yeah. You don't have a story. You don't have a reason for Count Mars to come back. You destroy his power source. I mean, then it's like okay, then how you wrote yourself into a box.
Right, and that's obviously then you never get what you're going to get here. In a second, you're going to see, why was Mekaneck so needed by Count Marzo? As these were sent into the fire pits or wherever the heck this is at.
Stands fire here.
All right, well, yeah, there you go. So you wonder, well, why is he here? Why did they only need him? And then when you see this part coming up, you're like, okay. Which again, what's going to happen coming up is another questionable, like, okay, really? This long? It keeps going and going. But again, it's just a cartoon, just an episode. But I do remember the first time when I watched this, I said, how long is this neck? I know
Well,
sometimes they say it's
he does do
limitless.
so much of this in the Filmation series, like in Disappearing Dragons, when Webster and Cobra Khan fall down into that chasm. I mean, you're led to believe it's kind of a ways down, and Mekaneck's head pops all the way down there. So this wasn't far fetched for me to see
No,
him.
I can imagine. I just remember the first time I seen it, I felt like, wow, that was a whole lot going on right
How am I
there.
supposed to customize that?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, there you go. It's always about, Jesus, what's going on right there? Get it? Get it? He's walking on water. And he got his.
You think Mars is Jesus Christ here?
Could be. I mean, look at him. He just did it. Well, there you go, Mekaneck. Thanks for nothing. It's just I got what I needed, and see you later. But here you go. You're getting ready to talk about those hellhounds or war dogs or whatever the heck they
I
are.
they were given a name, but they're not name checked. And other than
Ancient
like,
spirits of evil, transform this decayed form to Count Marzo, the ever living. Blah! There, that's his moment. He had his
very
mummer moment.
nation sequence, and yeah, this is
I liked it.
it would have been great had Mars have been given a few more solo appearances in the show, and not just this one solo act, and then comes back in the Council of Evil, and then teams up with Evelyn in season 2. It because he's a character that can hold his own, as we well see in this episode, and
And he's seeing everything that's past. Like right now with the amulet, now he's seen what has passed throughout time of what happened with the Hall of Wisdom, that now King Randor is ruling. So in there he's had his basically his He-Man using like, the power sword to transform Cringer to Battle Cat. He has his version right here, and these are some wicked
they kind of look like
looking pieces.
rats slash. I mean, right there, they look like the dogs from Ghostbusters, clearly.
Yeah, there's some
Well,
nasty
they fit perfectly, and yeah, there you go. There's your next custom job there, Joe. Is creating those little guys.
That would be a doozy. They would, yeah, they would take some work. But well, again, and now here we go. We got to see Adam doing what he likes to do, just trying to relax,
And
take a
avoid
break.
Andy Vagina Taylor, but we're just coming there and busting his balls about this.
Yep, and it's not an act. He's not acting like an oaf or a lazy doofus or nothing. This is what he does when he's Prince Adam. He just wants to relax. But now it's time. Here we go. I always love this transformation. First time I've seen it,
I do
like
too. I like both I like all three transformations in this series. The snake
not
armor,
me.
the growing one, and then
I
this
like
one.
I like
I
the
like.
growing one, but I won't talk about my hate for that snake armor one. Can't stand it. Ugh,
We know what you think.
God, I hate that
I like
snake
that
armor.
snake armor. I don't know why people dump all over it.
No, but what's funny? It's not actually the snake armor itself. I just hate the transformation. It's so stupid, and
It looks cool,
it
man.
looks horrible. It's stupid. It's terrible. Oh, so okay, now let's move on. He-Man's going to take care of Count Marzo, and we're going to see what Count Marzo's all about. When people always want to question, can this person beat He-Man? Can this person beat He-Man? Well, you're gonna see some action right here from Count Marzo. This shows how bad this person is. Why the council, elders back then and all of them had to stop him because he's one strong dude. And I like it. Those hellhounds when they showed him in that one particular picture just a second ago, they had different sets of eyes. And I don't know if that was a coloring error, obviously, because now you just see red in both of them. But the one had white and red. It kind of looked a little spookier, but I think it was just a color error, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's all it really was. And it's
There,
cool to see a sword fight here. It's very brief, but it's still cool nonetheless to see He-Man having a sword fight with another character and giving Marzo a sword as well.
and seeing Marzo best him right there knocks him right back. It's a That's what I mean. Marzo wasn't any type of a joke character. They took a character that some people weren't too fond of in Filmation and made him one awesome evil warrior. Look at that. He-Man couldn't even blast through the force field he put up. So he's getting the best of He-Man's done nothing to best Marzo so far when you look at it. Nothing.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job. Even when this episode is said and done, it feels like they still built up Marzo as a legitimate threat, not like they did the Snake Man in the first or the second part of King of the Snake Men or Rise of the Snake Men, excuse me, where they're just all kicked in the balls, thrown down in a pit, and it's all said and over. But even though they stopped Marzo in this, you feel like
Mm.
he came in, beat He-Man, sacked the
Look,
Royal Palace.
yeah, look at that. I mean, he took care of He-Man like nothing, and then bam, right here, there goes Battle Cat. It's like he just took care of the most powerful man in the universe. And people questioned if this person can beat him or who can beat him. Marzo, you might as well. Well, he did. He just beat him. And if this was a super violent cartoon, maybe he would even have killed him. But he took care of him, and then now look what he does. Look, there goes Manny Faces, Buzz Off, Ram Man. He's wiping out all the heroic warriors. He's taking care of everything. That is one imposing character.
Yeah, I mean that's something that Skeletor did not do in this. And I mean, well, I mean he did take out all of the heroic warriors in Council Leo one by one, so he was successful in that sense. But to come in and just take the Royal Palace, well, no, I take that back. I tell a lie. I tell a lie. The first episode, they come in, attack the Royal Palace, and catch everyone off guard. So they so yeah, I take that back. That was my mistake there, and
There
so
goes
it
both
not
towns with some knockout.
defeat because it doesn't happen too much, but here we are seeing the real big plot device here is this nasty vapor that these death dogs are uh, throwing up out of their bodies here and pretty much poisoning everybody in the royal palace.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
it's a great plot device to get Mekaneck back in the story and to get him out of this ridiculous idea that he sucks. You know,
Yeah.
which I just I mean, it's not as bad as
You know what? I just wish they wouldn't have constantly played on. Yes, I know
yes,
men.
they like to remind you, oh, I'm a putz. I stretch my neck. I
That's what I
suck.
mean. So it's like they're trying to. First, they want to talk about how he's so worthless because all he does is stretch his neck, and then But it's like I said, he's the recon guy, so he's the one that looks out for battle. But he can fight too. He has a purpose. But they want to now focus on this worthless neck feature. So first, they showed how it extends so super far to where he was able to get that, the amulet that couldn't be reached. So he was able to bite it and grab it. And of course, you're going to see his neck come into play again. It's like, well, why couldn't you just had him doing some fighting and battling too? He fought in the first episode, twirling his thing and getting down and being in battle. Why does it have to focus on just the neck? It annoyed me. They want to say how
But
it's
yeah, it almost feels like they wanted to do this story where one of the heroic warriors has a kind of a story of a redeeming self esteem, a story arc, and I mean they probably could have done it with any of them. They slightly did it with Manny Faces, like I've said before. Ram Man dealt with it in Night of the Shadow Beast, where he's afraid of the dark, that kind of thing. Which seems like oh come on, man, you're gonna have this big hulking guy. He's afraid of the dark, whatever. Not to
and
say
there you get see
it's a horrible episode, but I mean, but people didn't walk away, from this series and looking at Ram Man as anything less than,
and they left Orko like out of this whole battle stuff, meaning he came to go find He-Man. He uses magic like that to wake him up with water. So you see Orko wasn't bumbling, but you felt like hell, Orko. You figured maybe he could have been accomplishing stuff too. But then that wouldn't have gave Mekaneck his time to shine. But
no.
I felt like Orko could have been doing something back there. He wasn't absolutely worthless. But so he woke up He-Man, and in fact, even Battle Cat woke up by himself before He-Man. So maybe he has a quicker recovery constitution. I don't know.
But I mean, it's a this. I mean, coming back and revisiting this episode, it's not as bothersome. I mean, obviously because Marza's presence is so strong in it. But I mean, I always felt like if I want to watch Marza too, I go back and watch Council of Evil because it was fun to see him in those two episodes in The Last Stand, turning on Skeletor in that episode as well. But it's not as bad. I just don't like these fantastic characters made to feel this way. And I guess had he not be continuously looked upon as this putz of a character after the series, it probably wouldn't have bothered me as much. But when you see people in various forms and this stereotype of the character is continued on even to this day, you feel like, okay, that's a problem. If people are going to continue to
Yoink.
look back at this one episode and feel like this is the character, this is what we come to know. He sucks because his neck stretches.
And they had to show again why his neck is worth an amazing thing because it just popped up out of the smoke. He grabbed it out of his hand, and then there goes that. It's just okay, we get it. Now, first you're saying he's worthless because of the neck, but now he's useful because of the neck too. It's like okay, enough. But I always thought just like I said at the beginning, but it takes the fun out of it. It's like, He-Man, why don't you just crush that? I know they show it look like it's like an
Yeah, because
explosion
he crushes
there.
the Ramstone in The Last Stand. But again, too, in that same episode, The Last Stand, they take the amulet and he just baseball hits it. I mean, hits it like a baseball, in another direction, and he gets transformed again, I think, by Zodak and the Sorceress back to his old man form in that episode.
Yeah, they had to show that explosion probably to say, oh, maybe if He-Man would have squeezed it, it would have exploded. Like, I don't know. It's just, again, now you just, all you do is give another opportunity for that amulet to be found, just like how the Council of Elders in the first episode, they could have destroyed it and they put it somewhere. But, well, at least, hey, they saved the day. You see Mekaneck wrap up Count Marzo with his neck. So, again, showing another, I guess, useful reason or something useful for his neck. So, yeah, I wish they wouldn't have played so much on him being worthless because it seemed like fans did focus on it. So this
Yeah,
episode, while it was great for Marzo and some other things, it sure screwed up Mekaneck's image because nobody gets the point at the end of how he's worth
no,
being a master.
people still look back at him as just like the weakest of the heroic warriors, and that's not true. It's simply not true. It was never believed to be that way in Filmation or the original toy line. He was seen as a very competent and intelligent warrior, and I can't understand why people have latched on to that idea. I mean, especially hardcore fans, and
Yeah.
it may not be everybody, but it just feels like it's so heavily remembered. So you kind of feel like this episode left a great impression on fans. So
And hopefully they go back, watch it again, and realize why he is important. I mean, I've like I told you again, I've never seen him as being worthless. This episode didn't make me think he was worthless again, but it unfortunately did change some people's minds to where they do think Mekaneck is nobody now. But well, it was a good episode though. Like I said, we were introduced to a really fantastic upgrade and a new version of Count Marzo. You've seen his hellhounds, whatever you want to call them, the old man form. So there's lots of stuff that was going on in this episode to where again for figures to be cool, but just for seeing a new character, and it was a good story. It was still fun, even with Mekaneck being kicked in the nuts. It still was a good episode.
yeah, I mean, when I rewatched it today, I just started kind of gritting my teeth just at that early, like, oh gosh, stop knocking yourself, man.
All right.
I know it's a story for children, but I just feel like I love these characters so damn much, and I don't like any of them being treated any less than any. I mean, no different than any of the others. Like, I'm all about equality, especially in Masters of the Universe here. And I mean, I felt the same way about all the heroes, all the villains, all the creatures, and so on and so forth. I mean, there's not a weak link in any of them. Tila and Man at Arms are not weak characters. They're just portrayed poorly in a lot of their incarnations.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
but
Well, how did
not
you want
bad.
to close it up? We covered everything. So, did you have
Yeah.
anything?
I will say briefly, Carson, if you have not seen yet, and you're just now hearing, Carson released some fully colored pages. I mean, these are done with dialogue and everything in German and in English for the unofficial Leech mini comic, which are supposed to be going out in the mail this week for people who pre-ordered it. You can still purchase it. Just go to the Cardbacks, Mini Comics, and More Facebook page, and you'll see the various images that have been released. It's about 4 pages complete. I mean, complete shown. He sent me another page today that I requested. It looks phenomenal. I mean, it looks so stunning with all the finished colors and inks and everything. It looks so better than I thought.
Great.
So I know that I know the rest of it will look just as good, probably even better. The stuff that has not been shown. So the images for that are available. I posted in some of the various He-Man Facebook pages. You can go to my Facebook page. I've got them posted on there. I tagged Joe in them as well, and Doug. But those are up. They look great. If you're interested, you can still get a copy. You just need to email Carson, and his information is on that Facebook page as well if you still want to purchase one. It's a total of $8. I think in American dollars. That includes shipping as well, I believe. It's not much to get a unofficial Leech mini comic. And if you're just now finding out what it is, it's a retelling of the Leech mini comic with a much more coherent and cohesive story. So, but that's don't really have a recommendation this week, and I recommend you check out the Leech mini comic. That's my recommendation this week.
All right. Yeah, I've completely avoided all the preview pages.
Before I forget, Doug and our fan John Perryman got the quote correct last week, which was Point Break. I had Doug tell me right after we finished, and then John hit me up not too long after that. So the award goes to both. It's got to be shared by Doug and John this week.
All right. Well, I'll definitely let you know if at the end of the show I know what you're talking about because I still want fans to get it. But I'll let you know before we get off the air if I think I know what you're talking about. But
What?
for the new one, the new quote you're going to do tonight, I want to see if I can get it. But remember, I
Oh,
don't say it no more. I always make sure I leave that for the fans now. But I always like trying to do it myself. But I've been failing anyway, so all right. Well, I'll just say what I always say. Go to fansofpower.com, go to popculturenetwork.com, go to he-manworld.com, and on Facebook, go to Masters of the Universe He-Man and She-Ra Ultimate Fan Group. All great places, all great people. So until next time, have a powerful day.
I think we just hit a chunk of the road. I think I just chunked in my pants.
Oh, I have no clue. See? I don't even know what that is. I've been failing. I fail too much all the time. So, all right. Well, I guess, yeah, that's it. So we're done. And I guess
We'll be back next week with episode 98, and hopefully another much enjoyed episode for us and for you as well. So take care, everyone.
see you next time.